Hey, what is it, be sexy beast? This is Solanum-Heart, Tristan here, and I'm gonna be telling you about the time that I was I was actual president, and that I got in trouble for that in the 5th grade. So basically, like, what had happened with me being president in the 5th grade or whatever. It's a pretty epic story and kind of interesting and also hilarious and a fail. So it's a bunch of stories in one. I really hope you guys do enjoy. And if you guys hear birds and rain, that's the windows slightly open and wildlife and stuff. So the during 5th grade, which is my last year of elementary school in the school I went to, we had like elections for class president. So I was running for president, and my buddy Hunter was running for vice president. And so we were determined to win because we were going to beat out the other candidates or whatever. And we did end up winning, so that was awesome. But the interesting thing is that every day he would have my teacher. He would have this thing where he would check and see, if you did your 20 minutes of reading, and basically what would happen was he would like walk by you and like see if you got your agenda signed for you reading 20 minutes. And I'm not a big fan of reading. I'll probably get into it this summer, but whatever. And so I didn't really read, so I just told my parents that I did or whatever, and they would sign it for me. I actually just kind of told them to sign it, and they did. So that was awesome. But so they signed it, and all that was fine and dandy. But one day, my mom hadn't signed it. My mom had signed with her entire signature all the time, sorry. She had signed with her entire signature. So I was going by, and he was coming, he was like 3 people away from me. I totally forgot to get it signed, and I didn't want to I don't remember what the punishment was, but it was something bad, like you get marked down or something. I have no idea. But so I forged her signature. What I did was I would just write her initials, because she used to sign her whole signature, but I didn't have time to do that. So I just wrote her initials. I wasn't really thinking it through really at the time. So, 5th grader, 10-year-old version of me. So he comes by and he's like, "Oh, she used her initials this time? That's interesting." And like quote unquote checks me off. And I had been class president for 2 weeks to a month now at this point. I have no idea. I didn't really do much, of course. I would just like talk to the class and stuff. It was pretty awesome. So I've been class president for like 2 weeks to a month at this time. And so eventually, I thought everything was going fine. I'm like, yeah, you checked me off and everything's going good. And I think this happened in a few other instances where I had used my, just her initials or whatever. Because one day we were in the library doing something about book club or whatever the hell it was. And so he comes in there like super angry faced. He oh my gosh, wait, I remember. Sorry, so before he came in super angry faced, what had happened was, he's like, well, that's interesting that she's using her initials, so I'm going to call her after school and, double check this. I'm like, okay, cool. So I had come home that day and told my mom, like, "Mom, please tell him that, you'd been signing my agenda with your initials or whatever." And she's like, no, I'm not going to lie to him. I'm not going to lie to him. My mom's, like, really chill now, but I don't know, back then, I don't know what was happening. So she, he called her. She admitted to it not being her signature, and he found out that I had forged it. So one day, like the next day or whatever, I was in the library with all the students or whatever. So we were in the library, and he comes in like super angry face, and I'm like, oh my god, why are you so irate, And so he's like, he points to me, and he gives me like the finger, demanding I come back and talk to him or whatever. He's like super angry. So we go back to the classroom, and it's just him and I, and this is gonna sound really bad. So it's just him and I, and he's like, "Tristan, have a seat." So he sits me down, and he like sits on the other side of the table, and he's like, "Look, I called your mom and figured out that you had forged her signature." And so he's just going on and on about, he's like, "Listen, you're gonna have to resign from your presidency. You're impeached, basically, which means you are no longer the class president, or you no longer, yeah." So that's when you get in trouble at office, and they have to try you, and you get taken out of office. So I was impeached, basically, and he said, "Look, you can either resign, or we can, like, impeach you, basically, or fire you, or whatever." So I was like, oh my god, fuck, So I had to resign and tell the class, but the thing is, I couldn't tell him why. The interesting part is the fact that when he was, being very stern and very mean to me about this whole forgery thing, it literally made me cry. And I talked to my brother about this because, he had the same teacher and he got in trouble for a similar thing or something like that. And so the way he would talk to you and you know how angry he actually was, because he's usually a very nice, very chill person, but he was so angry and so stern that it literally made me cry, I swear. And I just sat there and, you know, bawled a little bit, and then the class came back and I had to tell him that I had, you know, I was no longer the class president. So I really hope you guys did enjoy the story. It was pretty epic, pretty sad in my part, kind of made me sad, but don't forget to click like and remember the fact that I love you.